Thank you. Now, as always, we take refuge and set an intention for Bodhicitta. However you do that, feel free or join me. With a wish for all beings to be free, free of the constriction and contraction of thought patterns, held thought patterns and belief systems, free of the automatic reactivity of held emotional patterns, and free of distorted perceptions caused by those very thoughts and belief systems. I will always go for refuge to alive, vibrant, radiant, spacious awareness until awareness is ongoing, like the flow of a river. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the presence of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of any lineage or time, or none, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all beings. As long as space remains, okay, that has never happened before. Always something new. Thanks for the signal. It says the host muted me, and that's not possible because I'm the host. But who knows? Sorry, let me finish up again. As long as space remains, as long as beings remain, may I manifest in such a way to ease and dispel the miseries in the universe. Some of you do your own refuge and Bodhicitta intention. And I like to give you enough time to do yours too. So I hope I kind of look around. I just had it occur to me as we start this morning. We are funny little creatures, we humans, are we not? We are this tiny little speck of aliveness, each of us. Aliveness manifesting in a universe that's far beyond any comprehension for us. It is so large, and according to Tibetan history, can't remember the turtle analogy, but it is a metaphor? I get my metaphors and all that mixed up. But just do not remember it. It's like a speck of dust on the back of a turtle, and the universe is made up of infinite turtles. That's not what it actually is, but it's close. We only, well, actually, that's not true. We are able to, in some ways, see into the past of our universe. thanks to the discoveries that have been made. I always wonder because it's close to, I've been told, we are close to being able to see all the way back to what we call the Big Bang. And I always wondered if we actually perceive the Big Bang, will it affect this universe? I'd like to have imaginary conversations with myself like that. You actually see the source of your beginning. Does it dissolve everything? Who knows? The point being, we're just these tiny, tiny little specks of aliveness in a universe filled with aliveness, not perhaps by our definition of what's alive, but the starlight that's traveling that causes us to be able to see into the universe and into the past. Would you call that dead? Kind of hard for me to accept. Certainly not static. Certainly not graspable. And then I think of us as these tiny, tiny little specks of manifested life. Each of us, not separate from that each of us sharing that spark of life with any manifestation of it. And in the entire universe, whether you perceive a multiverse, I think I might have said it in here. A friend of mine went to a retreat in India with Tai Situ. He's running, I think it's 6 or 7 year retreat. For a month every year, you go to India. I think it's, don't, don't check me on facts today. I'm not very good on facts today. And he evidently focused completely on Bodhisattva this year. It was really the emphasis of all the teachings. And he led them on a kind of a, don't know what, but what she said, her interpretation of his words, which may be very close, was that the number of beings in the universe is staggering. And that the number of beings, he did not describe what kind of beings, the number of beings that are in close contact with you, with all of us. And he said, use your imagination to picture all kinds of alive beings or beings manifesting around you, close to you at all times. And then he said something kind of funny like, that's actually what's true. And whether it's not meant to be creepy, like there's all these strange beings with their eyes on you. Not like that at all. Just whether we experience that. Always had this sensation that true bodhisattva is almost like a physical touch. And whether we interpret that as, if you have that experience, whether we experience that as infinite number of beings filling the space of the universe, or whether we experience that, put a story on that. You don't have to put a story on. As the very movement of light, photons, atoms, quarks, virtual particles popping in and popping out, an infinite display of life constantly in motion around us, in us. What? We think we're a solid individual? Some of you will know the percentages studied scientifically, but I think it's something like we're 95% space, maybe more. And of that space that we call I, we're, oh, I don't know, 70% water. I mean, that's kind of, not of the space, sorry, of anything that has form, we're 70% water, something like that. And yet, don't we have a sensation of being an individual I? Does anybody here not have that sensation? So we don't have to get rid of that sensation. That's the good news. It's what we feel. But if we are able to open to our insides not being as solid as we think, some of you don't think that, or let's put it a different way, not being as solid as we experience, and being filled inside the entire space around us. We're very good at seeing what we can see with our eye organ, yes. Feel what we can feel with our skin organ, hear what we can hear with our ear organ. But there's all kinds of vitality, sparks of aliveness that we can't see, that we can't hear, that we can't feel the touch of. We're never alone. We're constantly exchanging particles with other beings. My puppy dog is stretched out, sleeping right next to my leg. What, you think there's such a wall of separation between us that parts of her don't jump into parts of me? I just think it's so vast, it's beyond my imagination. There's no way I am able to wrap, well, it's closer to my imagination than it is to my intellect. I can't make a concrete picture of any of that. Well, for one thing, it's not concrete. And you might say, so what? We so much, not, I'll just say I, but I think we share this with many human beings. We so much can feel isolated, lonely. No one understands us exactly, this I. And yet we're surrounded with life. Not what would cause us to think it is only the life that we can perceive with our limited sense organs? Now, whether that creeps you out, like, ugh, what are you talking about? What's all around me? Ah, or what's all in me for that matter, or whether it causes us kind of an ease and relaxation. As hard as we try, we can't hold ourselves stationary and static. We can't do it. There's movement always, going in, going out, air coming in, going out. And yet we're plagued, for the most part, humans, with some sort of sense of a missing connection, like we're missing something. And we're plagued with that isolated sense of loneliness, or that lonely sense of isolation. Take your pick. Here we are in a practice. Oh, I don't know why it was designed, but what can help us to, I have a fun one for you. What can help us to rest into and I actually love this, though it doesn't make any logical sense to me, to rest into the constant movement and change and impermanence of life. And of all that life, as good and exploratory as science has been, keep thinking. If you're as old as I am, you learned that atoms were like the molecules were like this, atoms were like this, electrons went around atoms like this. There were orbits that were described. All of that is just bullshit. It's not true. But how else were we going to get any idea? I love that no matter how hard we look with the best minds in our world, we cannot find one thing that exists. We thought it was atoms were the building blocks, right? Oh no, turns out there's quarks and all kinds of things. It's wonderful to have a look. And virtual particles, what kind of nonsense is that? Things that seem to pop in and pop out of reality, our reality. Well, where do they go? Don't you wonder? They pop in, say hi, and then they pop out. But no one thing solid can be found. I just find that fascinating. And yet to say we're not here is silly. I see you. You see me. How do we possibly, with our human nature of holding on so tightly to trying to survive, or sometimes not, but it's that drive is still there, trying to be something, they seem like those two big pictures are in conflict. But that's only when we look at them logically. If we simply allow the sensation, yeah, sometimes I feel like an eye. Sometimes my heart contracts because I'm scared or I've been hurt. And I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to feel that. To deny that is silly. Unless you've gone beyond that and you never feel that. And yet to deny that there's no thing that actually makes us us. There's no solid thing whatsoever. The entire universe is in motion. Even now, having found the light is obvious, it's around us all the time, yes, and the light that fills the universe so that we can see all the way back to the Big Bang, maybe someday. Light travels through the universe all the time. And now all of a sudden, but it was thought to be first a vacuum, then I don't know the science of all this, but we could try with the images that come to mind. Then it was thought, okay, everything is permeated with light in a way, light rays going through. And now all of a sudden, but there's no sound. Now all of a sudden, there's been a underlying hum detected. Now, I don't pretend to know what that is. I don't think anybody does yet. Maybe. Is that the sound of life in the universe? Maybe. Maybe. What does this have to do with Chenrezig? If we experience in any way this being as being a manifestation, almost like shaping clay, which is also, of course, not solid, in movement, as being shaped in every moment by the experiences that occur to us. Not to us. See, the habits of our words are strong. What has arisen in our lives with our sense organs, what we've heard, what we've seen, what we've felt, what we've tasted, what we've smelled, what our ye has experienced, that sixth organ we don't talk about in Western science, the organ of, I guess I could say emotion, feel beyond the other five senses. You know how you can sense somebody walking up in back of you when you have not heard them, or that they're in back of you? When you haven't heard them, you can't see them, but you somehow sense. That's ye. And all we are is a conglomeration of all the experiences that we've been a part of, and what we made as stories about them, what we thought and what we felt about them. That kind of breaks down a strong sense of wait a minute, there's a solid me in there, because we're always experiencing. We're always changing. There is no form in the universe that is static. If somebody knows differently than that, please let me know. How could something be static when it's not made of anything solid? What's the benefit of experiencing that? Not, it's helpful to know it in thought, but what would happen if we lived experiencing that in every moment? How would we change? What might that shift in us? Well, for one thing, for many of us, it's terrifying, because we're so busy trying to hold on to being a good person, to hold on to being a good Buddhist, to hold on to this form, to keep living, to keep existing. It's important, probably, to all of us. What happens if we let go and realize we're rising and dissolving basically in every moment? There's no thing holding still as I in any moment. How might that change us? And that we're exchanging all the time, inside, outside. We're all made of that very spark of life. However that ever came about, who knows? But clearly it's here. The very same spark. A friend of mine calls it, we're all just little bits of stardust. Might we experience each other a little differently? One way it might arise is, instead of if somebody walks up and says something mean to us that we interpret as mean, ew, I don't like you, you suck. Instead of closing our contracted, going, oh, that really hurts. Might we experience them? Do you think it's possible we would experience them as a conglomeration feeling so much pain that they spit on us because they don't know anything different? Could it be that that's all that's happening for a bodhisattva? Simply knowing, experientially, not thinking, but knowing whatever arises is impermanent, and the dance of the wish for all of us that we have to be permanent. And what that causes us to do. I want this, whether it be wealth, I want to be a good Buddhist, I want to be a great bodhisattva. Perhaps that will do more good than wanting to own all the money in the world. I don't know. What would that feel like to actually experience all beings as reacting from that seeming conflict of wanting to be I, wanting to be the I think I should be. And starting to, I mean, we do realize on some level we are going to die. My gosh, our form changes all the time. I don't look a thing like I did when I was born. You know, there's some features that might be a little in common, but good Lord. What am I, 10 times as big, 6 times? I don't know. You know, I have all these wrinkles. My boobs hang down to my, my butt if I'm not careful. Things change. Gravity wins. What would it be like if we experienced each arising of light as a part of us? Just like we experience our hand. If your hand fell asleep and then got those prickly feelings on it, would you take the nearest hatchet and cut it off because you didn't like how it felt? If we're as interconnected as we can actually see. Before, if you're like me, oh, wait a minute, nope, I'm not interconnected to that being. I don't like that being at all. Oh, we see how the silliness of our humanness, and we can have such compassion with it. And the compassion as we start this practice is there's going to be pain. There's going to be feelings of grief and loss. There are going to be feelings of anger. All these things we name, none of them are actually different from each other. They're just a different sensation. They're just movement arising. That's kind of a nice place to rest. You could try that. I have no idea where we're going today. It's just what's happening. We can try that when we're angry, or even if we're thinking about a time we were angry. Is it really any different than when we felt, oh, I'm in love? Other than one we like, oh, that feels so good. Oh, I don't like that one. But really, when we open our perception to them, are they any different? Other than one causes us, because of we not like it, causes us contraction and separation. I'm angry at you. Separation. Love. I'm connected to you. I'm more open. Joy. I'm more open. And yet they're not made of anything different. Wow. What is joy and love other than the sensation of openness, expansiveness? What is anger? Hatred, other than contraction and separation? But we put those on those. I like this, I'm going to chase it. I don't like that, I'm going to get rid of it. And it causes all of our suffering, not our pain. If you break your leg, it's going to hurt for the most part. Maybe it doesn't hurt Buddhas. I don't know. I'm not one. Not recognizing that. If somebody I love is very sick or dying, I'm going to feel sad some of the time, of course. All the arisings of energy, not different. It's part of our lives. Heck, even a snail or a turtle, if you approach them and scare them, poop, they go right back into their shell. Leave them alone, not bother them. Now they come. Are they so different than us? So in this practice, a Tibet method that has been used for centuries to help to open that tight grasp we have on our own self, our own self-protectedness, our own self-focus. Not that it's bad and wrong, it's just limited. It limits us, it causes us suffering as we try to get away from what we don't like and get what we do like. And then we ignore everything else. How much do we ignore, excuse me, all stuffy today. How much do we ignore in 1 minute? How much do we ignore in 1 hour, 1 day? How much around us do we not even notice? Because we're busy separating. I like this, I don't like that. Describing everything to ourselves. So, if you ever wondered, why do we do this practice other than, guess what? Why do we like it? Helps us, for many of us, to relax and open and notice in a different kind of way. Open-heartedness, open-mindedness. And we can stop for a minute. You know how much energy it takes to hold our thoughts, our reactive emotions, our describing of everything? It takes a lot of energy. Ooh, it's exhausting, actually. You know when you've come home from a day of work, and you go, oh my God, I'm so tired. I worked so hard, or whatever you've done, whether it's work or something else. I'm so tired. Oh, I just want to have a beer and sit down and watch a little TV and be able to, relax. What do we actually, if we look, what causes the tiredness? Why are these darn realized beings, or bodhisattvas, or whatever you want to call those beings running around, why do they seem to have so much energy all the time? It's like, oh my God, look at some of their schedules. How old's the Dalai Lama? Pretty old. Well, maybe they're not busy fighting things that are going on during their days, trying to get rid of them. Oh, the guy's being a jerk to me. Oh, I have to get this paper done by in another hour. Oh, stress, stress, stress. We're allowing life to be as it is in any given moment. Maybe we aren't so tired at the end of it that we then need to go and find a way to relax. Can you imagine feeling a type of relaxation all the time? So as we start Chenrezig, we'll already have actually. If we need to take something outside of ourselves, TV, alcohol, drug, oh, you name it. I mean, where's your refuge? A book? Certainly is for many of us. I just want to turn off for a minute. I want to relax. Are we turning off from anything that's real? Have a look for yourself. Or are we turning off from something we think is happening? Or are we turning off from the enormous effort it takes to protect ourselves? To constantly describe the world around us. So you want the saddest part of all of this that helps compassion, for me at least? All of that, we're not seeing anything that's actually happening now. We're seeing the reflection of all the patterns we've built, the stories, the emotional reactions. That person that we go, ooh, I don't like them. And we don't see that person at all. They're reminding us of some pattern of being. If we don't even know them, how could we possibly not like them? It has to be a reaction. Oh, well, it's because I'm very intuitive. Patterns trump intuition, if you'll pardon me saying that one. Don't they? Check it out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Could we ever meet each manifestation, whether it be being aware of so much around us that we ignore? There's life everywhere. You know those pictures, like the enormous pressure conditions at the bottom of the ocean? And they find life there. Or the most barren on Earth. I don't know where life might be in other planets that we can't even see. I don't know. I'm not going to make a story about that other than I really don't know. There isn't life that we can recognize. In the most barren place, here's this little bit of moss or little sprig of some life, somehow managing to hold on. Life is everywhere. It's amazing. When we feel loved, or we feel what we call love for another, boy, does that feel good. If it doesn't scare you. And then don't we, most of us, not all of us. I've met couples that seem to be deeply in love, and they're not trying to manage each other. It's an amazing thing to me. It's every relationship I've ever had, I've tried to manage the person I said I thought I loved, or I felt love for. Not in every moment, not in, but how many times have I said, could you please not do that because it bothers me? I've done it a lot. I don't know about you. Just trying to get the conditions to be what I want them to be. There's a reason I'm single. Not you guys, never done that? How about if we're so open in our awareness and our attention that we didn't have to grab onto anybody and try to make them be what would make us feel safe. I searched all my life for somebody that would make me feel safe. Oh, could we have a little compassion for that? Because an awful lot of us do that. Or we give up and we just bury ourselves in some kind of cold, we just decide not to feel. Ouch. So we take those moments in this practice, try to remember, or maybe they can open right here, right now. Open heart, what we label love before we twist it and do all kinds of things with it. Those are moments of a wave, are they not? Can you imagine remembering or having one of those moments of that wave? For me, it feels warm, open, everything's welcome. No limitations on anything. That doesn't last very long, but it's a lovely feeling, lovely sensation. Can you imagine experiencing that ongoing? Knowing, having a deep knowing that that sensation is always present, whether we can feel it or not. Wow. Where we didn't need to attach it to anything with our hopes and fears, anything or anyone. Oh, I finally met the love of my life. Now everything's going to be okay. Open. And if you're like me, and I have been in my lifetime, that very idea is nonsensical. What are you trying to say? What are you talking about? Some people are not nice. Some people are nice. If my sense of open-heartedness is completely reactive to what other manifestations appear to be doing, boy, that is a big come and go, isn't it? Where's the refuge? It yells at me. Ah, it's gone. Oh, Oksana looks at me funny. I wonder if she doesn't like me today. Ah, it's so tiring, isn't it? What isn't to come and go there? Opening our heart, remembering a time. And the surprising part of this to me, which I think I've mentioned, that initial wave, when we with our maybe our bigger awareness, I don't have good words to describe it, but when we're not for a moment self-focused and we can rest right there in the wave, not looking at it as it, Because that wave, before we attach it, my experience, check it out, almost doesn't feel like it has a beginning or an end. It feels completely timeless. That's only when I come back and look at it, by the way. Isn't attached to anything. It's simply open. It's not an it. What's experiencing it? Who's experiencing it? And then, if you're like me, and most of us, we like it and we attach it. Oh, I just love Patricia today. She just looks so beautiful and warm to me. Is it Patricia? Or has that self-protective guard relaxed for me? And now I'm going to grab poor Patricia and try to make her be that for me all the time. Oh my God. I hope this is something that is familiar to some of you and you go, oops. But if we can learn to rest in that initial way, with that open awareness, it's us, whatever we're looking at, and the act of looking, if we will just use that, it's all the time. We start to notice with that more open awareness. It can arise to our awareness so much more often because we're not so busy trying to make the world we perceive outside of us do what we think we need it to do. Just can relax for it. Yikes. How do we notice that? Even when we're arising intentionally, that memory of an experience of love or a moment of connection, or there aren't words that really describe it. We can rest there. And from our heart, chakra or heart, the words don't really matter. Instead of grabbing, we can allow that, whether it's a visualization, whether it's a sensation, whether it feels like a vibration, a sound, all of the above, we can allow it instead of grabbing it. The practice here is to allow. We use a lotus of 1,000 petals. It's a lovely symbol to allow the waves full of vibration, light, sound, aliveness to shine, radiate out into the universe, not necessarily shine, radiate as they will naturally if we don't grab. And in this we use that 1,000-petaled lotus, but you don't have to. That's a method. It's a wonderful method. And we can start to experience the feeling of those light rays or vibration, sound, all of it, interconnecting, allowing other beings to relax, allowing their heart, their lotus to expand, and that light, sound, vibration, aliveness to radiate, touching more beings and more beings, some of those rays filling us again and again and again. And we might at some point imagine this web of interconnected life, whether we see it as light, we hear it as sound, we experience it as vibration, the touch of vibration, it doesn't matter. Or all of it together. feel that interconnectedness of life with all manifestation, or a limited amount. Some days maybe we could only do that with beings we perceive as Buddhas or Bodhisattvas because they feel safe. However it arises for us at any moment, what if that actually is that experience of interconnectedness, open-heartedness, lack of protectiveness? That is Nirmanakaya, as it truly is. We often see it as all these separate arisings of manifestation. Oh, look at all these different arisings. Well, yeah, it's spectacular. Anything and everything can arise in life. All interconnected, all with the same radiance, hidden, buried by our hopes and fears, our need to maintain our I. Not wrong, just so limited and so lonely. Get to rest for a moment through this wonderful practice of radiance, expanding into the universe, allowing other beings of any kind, in any space, beyond the edge of anything we can think of, eventually allowing every being to relax. All of that protectiveness and patterns of thought, and what I need to do, and all of that can relax. That is one hell of a refuge. If we ever want to just do that part of the practice and allow yourself to walk around outside for a moment, it's going to slide. Those patterns are all going to come back. But you won't walk around with what so many of us are afraid of, an open heart that's going to get crushed by others' actions. It may become an open heart that recognizes others' actions for what they are, a reflection of their patterns, their self-protectiveness, not one thing to do with us, nothing to do with us. Whoa. And we let that hurt us. Well, yes, we do. I'm not going to deny that. But for a moment, maybe we can experience those patterns relaxed. It isn't that your heart is so open, if this is a true experience, so open that you run out and go, oh, let me leave my keys in my car with my purse on the thing because everybody's so loving and kind. That's just mean. That's setting somebody up to steal. Doesn't change the ignorance, the hopes and fears that shape what we think of as this individual person. But it may allow us for a moment not to take things personally, to actually notice the contraction of beings around us, not caused by us. Oh boy, was that a hard one for me. I spent all my life trying to be the person that doesn't cause that. Holy cow. That's exhausting, by the way. Wow. And it isn't that I, in that moment, can experience seeing you with pity, because I'm no different. I'm going to put all that armor back on, all those patterns back on. We count on it. We all do. What if we've missed that interconnectedness because of all the displays of confused manifestations? The tiger doesn't eat you because he doesn't like you. The tiger eats you if he's hungry and you happen to be there and you look tasty. It's not personal. We all kill to survive. That's part of form. Except I'm still a little confused about that with trees. I'm not sure what they're killing to survive. So don't make anything an absolute. But we might look at trees a little different. In doing this practice in a big gathering in southern Spain, walking around, doing a bit of the Tonga, as Lama Lena teaches it, not with people, just trying to open to the experience of other beings around. Not saying whether it's right or wrong, my projection, none of that. Just throw all that away. And for a moment, walking around in Spain, I noticed this plant that was blooming on one side actually had blooms and flowers. And on the other side, it was completely withered and dead. And all I felt in that moment was the withered and dead part didn't care because the plant as a whole. I don't know. That's what I felt. Is that what a plant feels? I have no idea. But in its process of dying, I don't think it was completely dead, whatever that word means. We won't go into that today. But it didn't need to try to protect itself because the plant was a plant. It was alive. And so if your part died or was not having that great a time, perhaps, it didn't matter. That was an experiential thing. Was that what the plant was experiencing? I have absolutely no idea. What difference does it make? For me, there was a moment of openness that plant was so connected, it didn't have to protect any individual part of itself. That kind of thing shifts things, especially if I don't hold on to it with a story. I have no idea what was really happening, do I? What a magnificent refuge Nirmanakaya is. Can you imagine not taking anything personally? We start to focus on all our patterns and habits, trying to allow them to relax. Well, yeah, if they don't relax, we're not going to notice anything else. And yet somehow that takes a long time for a lot of us to generalize into everybody else is doing their patterns. And have you ever noticed how good we are at finding people that the patterns bang into each other? And then we try often to try to help them to not be bothered by their patterns. Oh my gosh, we are so funny, but it doesn't feel funny when it's going on. It hurts. My boss, oh my God, my boss. They don't like me. I'm going to lose my job. Who knows what's going on with your boss? But then my reaction of trying to be something that my boss will like so I don't lose my job, all created by me, probably leads to my losing my job because my boss is now so uncomfortable with my pattern. just gets amazing to watch it ripple. And please don't hear it that I'm trying to take away the pain that we suffer when that's going on. Ah, so Lama, I knew that she would just say, I bow. Yeah, thank you, Patty. It's good to see you. Yeah. She said, I bow to the power of my pain, my suffering. But in her saying that, what I felt was she didn't try to fight against it, talk herself out of it, change it. It's just what was arising then. Harmonica. Oh, probably. Oh, good heavens. Time is very tricky to me. Just throw in, and then probably if it's enough words. Harmonica is no thing other than the dance. Great, open, unlimited, undual, timeless, spacious awareness. Dharmakaya, from whence manifestations arise. How do they arise? Because of the spark of aliveness, radiance, luminosity, whatever you want to call it, awareness of Sambhogakaya. Well, how will I say this? If this coming together, not by Dharmakaya and Sambhogakaya getting together and saying, hey, let's make some manifestations. No, not like that. The very nature of the three kayas are themselves interconnected, interdependent. Yes, all manifestation arises with no effort, naturally, organically, from the ground of Dharmakaya. It's such a silly word, but we use it. And the spark of alive awareness. They can't help but arise arisings, anything and everything. Well, guess what that means? You are not separate from Dharmakaya. Never have been. Can't be. How could you be? Not separate. You are not separate from Sambhogakaya. If you want to, omniscience, radiant, unlimited awareness, aliveness. This is a hell of a refuge. Sorry, it's my mind. Just aware of the, how does that go when you're being trained to be a doctor? See it, learn it. No, see it, do it, teach it. Now, why that arose at the moment, I have no idea. Who knows? Maybe it fits. See it. Where do we start? Usually with Dharmakaya. Oh, the spaciousness. Be it. Radiate it. Don't hold the radiance back. Three kayas as one. Never were separate in the first place. Ooh, that made me feel really good. Hope it did you too. Thank you all for arising this with us, with me, with us, my kayas. Now, my reaction to being so touched with my time with you is sometimes to laugh. Thank you for being here today. I'm grateful that we get to do this together. And don't for 1 second think you're separate from it. Unless you want to feel separate, then go ahead. It happens together. So interesting. May all beings have such opportunities in whatever way touches their heart, allows them to relax for a moment. May each being find a path, find a way, find a whatever, to allow at least a glimpse of the incredible refuge that we are. May we remember, in the face of all of the distractions and patterns and everything that came together to manifest this sense of me, may we remember we are not limited as that, ever. And may we all keep walking together. I'll leave you right there. Thank you, as always, to translators and those who record. Appreciate you and each one of you. Till next week or next time.